Eat these 7 foods the right way, and watch your sleep transform after 60. The promise of a quiet night is planted long before twilight curls across the windowsill. It begins with the first spoon of breakfast, with the steady rhythm of footsteps on the garden path, with every choice that whispers yes to calm and no to hurry. Imagine sleep as a gentle lake. All day you toss pebbles of thought, sugar, and sudden worry into its surface. By dusk the ripples either settle into glass or keep the water stirring. So while many friends look only at the pillow, we turn earlier, to the small moments that decide whether the mind will float or thrash when darkness comes. Picture your body as an orchestra tuning up for a moonlit concert. The strings are hormones that lower the lights inside you, the woodwinds are nerves slowing their chatter, the drums are muscles loosening their grip on the bones. Food is the quiet conductor. Offer a warm, steady wave of nourishment late in the afternoon, and every instrument finds the same key. Offer a sharp clang of heavy flavor or a gulp of caffeine, and the baton falters. The melody breaks into scattered notes that echo past midnight. This is not about strict rules or cold discipline. It is about a gentle art of timing, a loving negotiation between what tastes good and what feels good when the house falls silent. Think of the evening plate as a lullaby you compose. Each bite carries a line of music. Too many bright cymbals, and the lullaby becomes a parade. The right mix of mellow chords, and eyelids drift without command. We step into this journey with patience. No one rewrites a lifetime of habits overnight. Yet every sunset hands us a blank page. Tonight you might roast a handful of pumpkin seeds instead of reaching for a sugary bar. Tomorrow you might trade a late television snack for a mug of warm milk brushed with honey. Little swaps, softly repeated, invite the deepest rest. When dawn arrives, you will feel the difference in your knees, in the steadiness of your pulse, in the clear light behind your eyes. And the lake of sleep, once troubled, will lie smooth and shining once more. When sunset spreads its soft amber over the kitchen tiles, many in their younger seasons slip into slumber as easily as a cat finds a warm spot on the sofa. Yet with time the script of night rewrites itself. Instead of a single long sweep of darkness, the hush of sleep begins to arrive in shorter chapters, each one interrupted by the creak of a floorboard or the restless turn of a thought. Some evenings the body drifts under quickly, only to rise again long before dawn peeks across the curtains. Other nights the mind circles the same path for hours, chasing sleep like a lantern that stays just out of reach. This change rests on quiet shifts hidden deep within muscle, nerve, and bone. Picture your inner clock as an ancient lighthouse turning its beam across the sea. When we are young, the lantern glides in smooth, confident arcs, guiding every tide of energy and rest. Over decades the gears grow weather-worn. The light still turns, but each sweep slows a little, then speeds unexpectedly, then pauses before finding its rhythm again. Signals that once rang like church bells now feel closer to distant chimes. Hormones that whispered, "Night has come, release the blankets, speak more softly." The brain must lean in to hear, and sometimes it misses the cue. Inside the belly, digestion no longer races as it once did. Meals linger, asking the heart to pump harder and longer to move blood through the winding streets of the gut. If heavy foods call loud for attention near bedtime, the nervous system listens and stays alert, ready to work instead of rest. Meanwhile, joints that carried us faithfully through years of gardens and staircases now voice their own needs. They send small pulses of discomfort that ripple up to the mind, nudging it awake so they can shuffle into a kinder position. Memory also plays its role. The longer we live, the more scenes fill the theater of the day. Unfinished conversations, gentle worries for family, bright flashes of old victories, all of them crowd the aisles when the lights dim. Without a deliberate way to lower the curtain, the audience never settles, and the play on the stage of sleep cannot begin. Yet none of these shifts spell doom for deep rest. They simply ask for a new script. We can train the lighthouse to find a steadier pace. We can soothe digestion with lighter evening fare that feels like a lullaby rather than a brass band. We can treat joints to slow stretches and warmth long before the head meets the pillow. We can give memory a porch light by writing stray thoughts on a small sheet, promising to meet them again at sunrise so they do not wander through the night. Most of all, we must remember that calm is cultivated. It does not fall from the sky like rain. It grows in the soil of choices made hour by hour. Even a single mindful breath taken while stirring soup can drop a pebble of peace into the day. Enough pebbles reshape the shoreline where wakefulness meets rest. Tonight may still bring brief wake-ups, perhaps for a sip of water or a quiet trip down the hall. Yet if the body has been spoken to kindly, it will settle again with the ease of a boat finding the gentle pull of its anchor. Think of this chapter as a lantern lighting the path ahead. In the next pages we will meet the foods that steady the lighthouse beam, quiet the bustling kitchen of the gut, and fold the restless audience into soft seats. For now, Hold close the truth that change in sleep after many seasons is natural, but sleeplessness is not destiny. With care, with patience, with the right evening companions on the plate, the long sweep of night can still feel like a tender promise kept. There is a quiet hour in late afternoon when the sun leans low and everything on the stove begins to speak in softer tones. This is the moment when dinner can turn into gentle medicine. Long ago healers mixed roots and leaves into tonics, believing each flavor carried a hidden note of power. Modern science leans close with microscopes and charts, yet arrives at the same doorway: what we swallow steers the entire night ahead. Think of your body as a library after closing time. All day the shelves have shuffled, books traded between readers, pages dog-eared with quick decisions and sudden bursts of energy. When evening comes, the librarians move through the aisles, tucking volumes back where they belong, repairing frayed corners, jotting notes for tomorrow. A heavy meal dropped on the counter is like a last-minute wagon load of novels dumped at the door. Chaos rises, carts squeak through narrow passages, and the lights stay blazing long past curfew. A lighter basket, thoughtfully chosen, lets every story slide gracefully into place before the lamps dim. The gentle dinner is neither a punishment nor a bland surrender. Imagine a bowl of warm soup whose steam carries the scent of garden herbs, or a small fillet of fish shimmering beside roasted vegetables that still remember sunshine. These are not meager rations, they are invitations to slow down, to hand the digestive system a task it can finish before the moon hangs high. When the gut rests early, blood can drift toward muscles for repair, toward the brain for memory weaving, toward skin for its nightly loom of renewal. Inside this same bowl lie quiet messengers. Tryptophan, that humble amino acid, slips across the barrier into the brain and helps craft serotonin, which later folds itself into the dreamy cloak called melatonin. Magnesium eases nerve chatter the way a kind teacher hushes a classroom. Calcium partners with it, guiding each heartbeat into steady rhythm so the mind can wander peacefully. Healthy fats, smooth as polished river stones, cradle hormones that keep nighttime temperature just right, neither too hot nor too cold. Notice how none of these helpers shout their presence. They hide in almonds, oats, leafy greens, legumes, fruits whose skins glow with late-season color. Prepared with kindness, lightly toasted, gently simmered, never scorched, they arrive in the bloodstream like talented stagehands, moving scenery without stealing the spotlight. Yet timing is as vital as choice. Picture the belly as a fireplace. Feed it a log too late, and flames leap high when you most need embers. Offer smaller kindling earlier, and warmth lingers in a quiet, even glow. Finishing dinner while evening birds are still calling allows the fire to settle by the hour of stars. Culture often urges grand feasts after sundown, bright lights, conversation that runs until the clock nearly folds into morning. There is joy in those moments, but joy can survive in gentler portions, too. A single square of dark chocolate savored slowly can feel richer than an entire dessert rushed between phone alerts. A mug of herbal tea cradled in both hands can become a lullaby all its own. As we step toward deeper discussion of specific foods, hold this image close. Each evening plate is a handwritten letter to your future self, sealed and delivered to the hours just before dawn. Fill the letter with calm sentences, friendly punctuation, and a signature of gratitude, and the self who wakes will read it with a smile that begins before the eyes even open. Imagine a village at dusk, every cottage roof touched by the same rose-gold light. Some chimneys puff a final curl of smoke, doors close softly, even the dogs seem to walk slower. This peaceful picture is exactly what your inner world tries to paint each night. Yet the brushstrokes depend on quiet instructions delivered through food, timing, and the gentle choreography between them. Think of the evening hours as a drawbridge slowly lowering across a moat. On one side stand the bustling troops of daylight, quick sugars, sharp spices, lively conversation, the bright sparkle of screens. On the other side lies the hush of night, a realm ruled by steady breath and surrendered muscles. If a heavy banquet charges the bridge just as it creaks downward, the planks shudder, the ropes strain, and the passage jams tight. But when light bites arrive early, in measured steps, the bridge lowers without protest, and calm crosses unhurried into the castle. The first whisper in this ritual is when. Many sleep troubles are not born of what we eat but of how late we ask the body to solve the puzzle of digestion. When the sun hovers a hand above the horizon, begin the quiet feast. Let vegetables simmer until they surrender to the spoon. Let grains swell slowly, soaking up broth like a sponge drinks rain. Finish before the last streak of orange fades so the gut can sweep its hearth long before midnight bells. The second whisper is how. Picture the stomach as a silk mill. Rough chunks and greasy folds clog the delicate gears, demanding harsh effort. Gentle preparation, steaming, roasting, slow stirring, spins every fiber into threads the mill can handle with grace. Chew with patience, tasting the story of each mouthful. The jaw's steady rhythm sends a signal upward. The work is easy tonight, no need to stay on guard. The third whisper is what? Certain foods speak the dialect of drowsy hormones with remarkable fluency. A modest bowl of oatmeal, its grains carrying a natural sweetness, offers tryptophan wrapped in comforting fiber. A spoon of almond butter delivers magnesium that hushes restless nerves. A slice of kiwi's bright green invites serotonin to sketch its early lines. A small fillet of salmon glows with healthy fats that keep nighttime temperature steady, the way a wool blanket evens out a room's draft. Even humble lettuce, when tossed with a drizzle of olive oil, brings a trace of laxucarium, the plant's own bedtime lullaby. Balance matters. Too much protein weighs beside the ribs like stones in a pocket. Too much fat lingers in the bloodstream like late guests who refuse to leave. Too many refined carbs spike energy then crash it, jolting the nervous system like a stair mist in the dark. A plate that blends gentle protein, slow carbohydrates, soft fat, and a sprinkle of calming micronutrients sends the perfect note. The tasks are finished, the tools are cleaned, the gate may close. Beneath these choices flows another quiet current, ritual. A single act repeated nightly becomes a bell the body learns to trust. Perhaps it is steeping a mug of chamomile, the steam drifting toward the ceiling like pale clouds. Perhaps it is dimming kitchen lights until only a candle flickers on the table, its glow signaling the nearness of dreams. Perhaps it is thanking the meal aloud, allowing gratitude to untie the knots of the day. These cues weave together, forming a soft rope that guides the mind down the well of sleep. If interruptions still visit, an unexpected phone call, a clang from the street, a thought that refuses silence, return to breath and grounded simplicity. Hold palms on the belly and feel the rise and fall as though riding gentle waves. Remember that the body has already received instructions to rest, you need only step aside and let the message travel its path. Night agrees to arrive on our terms when we greet it like an honored guest rather than a last-minute surprise. Offer early warmth, gentle textures, friendly nutrients, and a ritual that feels like a slow curtain falling. In return, the guest stays through every hour, tucking the soul beneath blankets of deep repair, leaving at dawn without a footprint on the floor. In the hush between supper and starlight, the table becomes a small stage, and 7 faithful allies step forward one by one, each carrying a lantern that glows with a different shade of rest. They do not march in order, for peace dislikes strict processions. Instead, they wander in a friendly circle, offering their talents the way neighbors share stories over a fence. First comes a bowl of creamy oats, still breathing faint wisps of steam. The grain is humble as an old wool sweater yet lined with gentle magic. Inside every kernel waits tryptophan, quieter than a lullaby but steadfast, ready to weave itself into the sleepy threads of melatonin once the lights dim. Paired with a drizzle of warm milk, the oats settle into the belly like straw into a barn loft, cushioning the night from sudden noise. Close behind drifts a pair of kiwi slices, their bright green crescents sparkling like small moons. Though tiny, they carry a lively cargo of serotonin's building blocks and a whisper of natural sugars that rise and fall so softly the pancreas barely notices. Enjoyed with the fuzzy skin still on, they lend fiber that sweeps the gut clean before dreams begin their gentle parade. From the hearth comes roasted pumpkin seed, nutty and aromatic, wearing a cloak rich in magnesium and zinc. It crackles faintly between the teeth, then dissolves into calm that travels up the spine, loosening jaw and shoulder with the skill of an experienced masseur. A small handful chewed slowly is enough, more would crowd the quiet hallways of the stomach, and these guests cherish space to stretch. Gliding in next is a modest fillet of salmon, its coral strands flaking under the fork. The fish arrived from cold waters where it learned patience and resilience, storing healthy fats that slide into every cell like oil on squeaky hinges. Those fats keep body temperature steady, preventing the sudden warmth that can toss a sleeper out of blankets before dawn. A squeeze of lemon and a whisper of herbs are all it asks for, nothing fried or drowned in sauce that might stir digestion past bedtime. Almond butter follows, smooth and mild, spreading easily over a thin slice of whole grain bread or swirling into a cup of oatmeal. Within its creamy depths rests magnesium once more, joined by gentle protein that mends muscle tissue pulled tight by the work of daylight. Its healthy fat is satin rather than velvet, light on the tongue yet lingering just long enough to convince the brain that every pantry shelf is full, so hunger stays silent until morning. A small handful of tart cherries arrives like graceful dancers, their deep crimson hinting at the dusk outside. They carry melatonin already formed, not merely the parts but the whole lullaby, ready to soothe the pineal gland without demanding complex assembly. Sipped as juice cooled in the fridge or nibbled fresh beneath dim kitchen light, they turn the distant hum of wakefulness into a low murmur that soon drifts away. Lastly, a cup of chamomile tea settles onto the table, steam twirling in lazy ribbons. The flowers were harvested under warm sun yet offer cool comfort, steeping their essential oils into water that tastes faintly of apple and meadow. Each sip sends apigenin gliding through the bloodstream, coaxing receptors in the brain to loosen their grip on thought. A touch of honey, stirred until it disappears, rounds the flavor and paints the throat with calm. Together these companions form no strict menu, they mingle according to mood and season. Some nights the oats and cherries meet like old friends, one mellow, one bright, weaving sweetness and fiber into a single quilt. Other evenings salmon takes the lead, surrounded by pumpkin seeds sprinkled over roasted vegetables, while chamomile waits in a mug by the bedside like a final goodnight kiss. What matters is not rigid adherence but mindful pairing. Choose 2 or 3 allies, invite them early, prepare them gently, and grant the body an hour of quiet after the last bite. During that hour let lamps dim, tasks fold themselves away, and conversations soften until words drift into comfortable silence. In this space the allies go to work, each lighting its lantern deep inside tissue and nerve, guiding the mind toward the silvery lake of unbroken rest. When morning peels back the curtain of night, you may find joints moving with easier grace, heartbeat beating a steadier drum, thoughts arriving clear as birdsong. Give a small nod of thanks to the 7 friends who stood watch while you traveled the velvet corridors of sleep. They will wait patiently on the pantry shelf until dusk gathers again, ready to carry their lanterns across the drawbridge and usher you safely into dreams. Just as every cozy household keeps a basket near the door for muddy shoes, the evening table needs its silent sentinel, a watchful eye that guards against uninvited guests. Some foods arrive with cheerful smiles yet hide pockets full of rattling keys that jangle all night long. They slip beneath the covers of habit and tug at the edges of rest until even the calmest dream stirs awake. Far from villainous, these ingredients often shine at other hours. A rich slice of aged cheese thrills the midday palate and nourishes bones, yet bring it into the lamplight too late and its dense proteins linger like partygoers who never notice the clock. They keep the stomach's lantern blazing, demanding extra acid and motion when every muscle longs to dim the lights. Dark chocolate tells a similar tale. Its glossy squares carry whispers of magnesium and mood-lifting compounds, yet tucked inside is a quiet spark of caffeine and theobromine, twin sparks that tap the drummer in the heart and refuse to let the tempo slow. Even a small nibble near bedtime can set subtle tremors in the orchestra of sleep, a flutter beneath the strings that grows into a restless hum by midnight. Tomato sauce, beloved for its bright tang, cloaks an unexpected heat. Natural acids and hidden sugars mingle with fragrant herbs, urging the esophagus to tighten and the gut to churn. When this symphony unfolds after twilight, gentle waves of reflux may creep upward, stinging the throat and nudging the brain to stand guard instead of drift away. The sparkle of citrus offers afternoon sunshine in each juicy segment, but its oils and acids flick embers in the belly's hearth. If those embers ignite after lamps are low, they send chemical signals that mimic alarm bells, coaxing the adrenal system into a state of mild alert. Even herbal companions can misbehave. Peppermint, soothing to a busy afternoon stomach, loosens the gateway at the top of the stomach wall. As that door sags, tiny rivulets of acid slip upward, waking the sleeper with a scratch of discomfort. Likewise, ginseng, champion of daytime vigor, can spin the mind like a weather vane long after clouds have covered the moon. Then there is the long-time evening habit of a golden nightcap. A single sip of sweet liqueur may warm cheeks and lull the first descent into slumber, yet alcohol unravels its promise quickly. It loosens the weave of deep sleep, scattering it into brief patches broken by sudden awakenings, dry mouth, or hurried trips down the hallway. Morning arrives not with freshness but with a curious fog, as though dreams left half folded on the line. Guarding the table does not demand strict exile. It calls for mindful timing and playful substitution. Bright sauces can wait until lunch, exchanged in twilight for gentle puree of pumpkin or sweet potato. Cheese can shrink to a whisper of ricotta stirred into warm grains earlier in the day. Chocolate can shine as a mid-morning treat beside a stroll in cool air. Citrus zest may scent a pitcher of water enjoyed at noon, leaving chamomile to cradle the evening cup. Most of all, remember that the body listens to every flavor like a storyteller leaning close. Offer tales of calm when shadows lengthen, and the nervous system sighs in relief, laying down its quills and closing the ledger of tasks. The night then stretches smooth and spacious, as though clouds parted to reveal an open sky, ready to cradle dreams in its quiet expanse until the first soft blush of dawn. The hour before sleep is a quiet bend in the river, a place where fast current slows and reeds sway in gentle rhythm. Here the body asks for kindness more than action, for signals that the day's caravan has reached its last campfire. Begin by dimming light until rooms glow like late summer dusk. Shadows soften hard angles, persuading eyes and brain to trade sharp focus for a haze of ease. Switch screens to rest and let their bright chatter settle into silence. The mind, suddenly unburdened by news and messages, starts to breathe at a pace it knew in childhood under starry skies. Now invite warmth. Wrap shoulders in a robe that feels like a soft promise, or drape a light blanket over knees while sitting near an open window. Cool air brushing the face while the chest remains cozy tells inner temperature gauges that balance has been found. As muscles notice comfort, they loosen their long grip on bones and joints, sigh like doors finally oiled. A gentle stretch follows, nothing grand, just a slow reach toward the ceiling until the spine feels long, then a forward fold that lets arms dangle and neck release the weight of thought. Picture tension sliding off fingertips like rainwater from leaves. Stand again, roll shoulders in lazy circles, lift each heel once and place it down with care. Blood moves smoothly, carrying fresh supplies of oxygen to corners left idle through the evening. When breath grows deep and even, turn attention to a simple cup. Perhaps warm milk sprinkled with cinnamon, or herbal infusion scented with fields and fruit. Hold the mug in both hands, feel steam kiss the face, take sips that linger on the tongue. Liquid warmth travels downward, touching stomach lining with kindness, encouraging digestion to finish its quiet work. Set the cup aside and reach for paper. Write a brief line of gratitude, a thought that rose during daylight, a small worry you choose to release until dawn. Ink carries those fragments out of the head and anchors them where they cannot tumble across streams. Close the notebook, its cover becomes a gate behind which unfinished stories rest until sunrise. Finally, sit in stillness. Notice heartbeat, steady as waves that meet the shore without hurry. Listen for distant sounds, the hush of wind, a clock's soft tick, perhaps the low murmur of a neighbor's radio fading through walls. Each note reminds the nervous system that the world continues safely without your watchful eye. With that understanding, eyelids grow heavy, jaw slackens, breath settles into the slow tide that will carry you through night. When at last you rise and walk toward the bedroom, every step feels cushioned, as though the floor itself has learned to cradle your weight. Sheets welcome you like cool water on a warm afternoon. The drawbridge lowers in silence, and you cross into sleep not as a soldier exhausted by battle but as a traveler arriving at a long-awaited inn, certain that morning will greet you with renewed strength and a clear sky of mind. Morning light has a way of slipping through curtains like a quiet promise kept. When sleep has been deep, that light feels softer, colors seem more vivid, even the familiar creak of the floorboard greets the ears like an old friend rather than an alarm. The shoulders lift without complaint, the knees bend with a grace that surprises, and thoughts gather themselves into tidy rows ready for whatever the day may unfold. This is not a miracle. It is gratitude returned, a gentle response to the steady care offered the night before. Each choice along the evening path was a brushstroke on a larger canvas. The mindful meal, the dimmed lamps, the warm cup, the stretch that coaxed tension from muscle and bone, every stroke layered calm upon calm until rest became inevitable. When the body sensed no pending tasks, no heavy demands rattling in the gut, no stray sparks of caffeine or sugar flickering in the blood, it released its final guard and drifted into the slow waves where repair and renewal dwell. Inside that darkness, cells stitched torn fibers, memories filed themselves in quiet drawers, hormones balanced their delicate scales, and the heart practiced a rhythm steady enough to guide the orchestra for all the waking hours to come. Dreams rose and fell like distant songs, weaving together fragments of joy, curiosity, and gentle exploration, leaving the mind refreshed as if it had wandered through gardens of possibility. By dawn the 7 allies of nourishment had completed their watch. They left behind subtle gifts, magnesium marbled through muscle, omega oils buffering every cell wall, tryptophan shaped into the final threads of morning mood. Their work done, they stepped back into the silence of the pantry shelves, waiting for dusk to invite them forth again. The enemies, too, learned their place. They discovered that respect for timing turns foes into friends. Cheese enjoyed with midday sunlight, chocolate savored while afternoon shadows stretch across the table, tomatoes bright tang tucked into a lunchtime salad, all shine without disturbing the fragile weave of night. The last hour's ritual sealed every promise. Gratitude written, breath counted, warmth embraced, these became the bridge between daylight's demands and midnight's mysteries. With repetition they will grow more powerful, an unbreakable signal that the world can manage its spinning while you slip beneath the quilt of dreams. As evenings gather in the coming weeks, remember that change honors patience. Some nights may still scatter wakefulness like pebbles across the lake, and that is no failure. Simply gather each pebble, smile, and let it sink beneath the surface. Continue the gentle pattern. Over time the lake will hold a gleam so still it mirrors the stars above, and sleep will arrive as naturally as the hush that settles over fields at twilight. Carry this knowledge not as a strict rulebook but as a lantern. Lift it whenever darkness crowds the mind, and its glow will remind you that rest is an act of kindness, not indulgence. Feed the body with respect, Speak to it in the soft language of rhythm and care, and it will answer with nights that cradle the spirit and mornings that burst open like fresh blossoms, full of color and quiet strength.